You're about to watch a video that's an excerpt of one of my online courses, free sample if you will. If you enjoy it, please get in touch, dan@brojo.org, and let me know what you think. Okay, so if you're doing this course, then you probably come to terms with the fact that you're afraid of rejection. And if you're observant enough, you'll notice that most people are. But when is the last time you stopped to ask yourself why? Now, there are a lot of different theories as to why we're afraid of rejection. Evolutionary psychology, for example, talks about a kind of evolution of social anxiety that kept us alive. Essentially, 100,000 years ago, if you didn't fit in with the tribe, you died, or some other tribe killed you. If you wanted the protection and the resources offered by the tribe, they had to like you enough to not want to kick you out or kill you. So essentially, those who were bold enough to stand out in the crowd and get rejected actually suffered serious threatening consequences from that rejection. A very few of them moved on to become the king or the chief or the queen, but most people just got kicked out of the tribe and they died because they were uncomfortable to be around. So essentially, your ancestors are a long descending line of socially anxious pussies. That's probably the most scientifically accurate way I can put it. It is in your genes to be afraid of rejection because once upon a time, a very long time ago, but not so much in terms of evolutionary speed, it was actually lethal to get rejected. So you're there with this kind of genetic predisposition toward avoiding rejection. It comes out as fear of abandonment when you're a child and develops from there. But one of the reasons we don't grow out of it is because of the classic high school experience. Now, it can also happen in elementary or primary school, but the most likely time that you're going to become aware of the social pecking order, of the hierarchy of coolness that you're trying to fit into, is probably in high school or around the age of your teen years. For most people, high school is very much a Lord of the Flies experience. There are the kids who decide who is cool and who isn't. There is the way you're supposed to be and the way you're not supposed to be. And this actually changes from school to school, culture to culture, country to country. You kind of have to figure it out once you get there. And if you do not figure it out quick enough, you'll start to learn a key lesson. The idea that rejection is associated with pain. Pain like loneliness, embarrassment, humiliation, boredom from not having friends. There's a lot of pain we associate with not fitting in and not being accepted by others that we develop in our early childhood years. For some people, this is even as extreme as bullying. For others, it can be as minor as a girl not saying yes to you asking her out. Whatever it is, we get this idea that that initial fear that we're born with, that kind of predispositional fear towards rejection, now we're seeing why we're afraid of it. It hurts emotionally. And it's around here that we start to associate two things. One, loneliness, probably the most psychologically painful experience a human can have, and two, rejection. We start to see rejection equals loneliness. In other words, rejection equals emotional pain. We come to that conclusion it's therefore bad to get rejected because it's bad to be lonely. We also do a kind of counter calculation to this. If rejection equals loneliness and lonely is bad, then the opposite of rejection, being accepted and liked, is good and pleasurable. We look at the most popular people and we think they seem to be having the best time. They seem to be the happiest out of all of us. We don't look very closely because it's not actually that obviously true, but we tell ourselves a story. Those people with all the friends are happier than the people who don't have all the friends. And therefore, more people liking me is good, less people liking me is bad. A very childish conclusion because we are children when we come to that conclusion. Our brain doesn't really fully develop until we're in our late teens or 20s. So by the time we've decided that rejection is bad, it's already too late. We've decided it with a child brain, but we're now an adult continuing with a child belief. And that's where things get really messy. In order to protect ourselves from this rejection, we start to do something called backward rationalizing. We start to predict potential rejection, and then we rationalize why we shouldn't take that risk. For example, let's say I'm about to apply for a promotion at work, and my brain goes, well, what if they say no? What I'll then do next is extrapolate from that question and come up with a big disaster, a catastrophe that isn't worth taking the risk on. Not only will they say no, but they'll be upset with me for even asking. They'll think I'm inconsiderate. They'll fire me. I will have a black mark on my record as my career. Nobody will hire me again. I'll end up homeless on the streets. Sounds ridiculous, but people do this every day. They don't ask out the person they're attracted to because they're worried that it'll end up with some big humiliating disaster. They don't apply for the job that they want because they think they'll lose their income, so on and so forth. People really extrapolate and exaggerate what's going to happen based on this rationalization process. Nothing has even happened yet, but we're so keen to prevent any potential pain from rejection that we'll make up any story we need to talk ourselves out of doing something. We also come to believe, probably from our high school experiences, that the way other people judge us is somehow an accurate measure, more commonly referred to as caring what other people think. But it's more than that. It's about saying, hey, if a lot of people don't like me, then I must be unlikable. There must be something objectively wrong with me. So we develop the system. The more praise and the more acceptance I get, the better a person I must be. And the opposite, the more I get rejected, the worse of a person I must be. And this is really the foundation of people pleasing. We try to score as many points as possible, as many people liking us points as possible, to prove to ourselves that we're a person of value, because deep down we suspect that we are not. Every little rejection is so painful, not because of the rejection, but because it potentially confirms that we are that unvaluable, unlovable person that we always suspected ourselves of being. So when we say we're afraid of rejection, what we're really saying is we're afraid of the emotions that we associate with rejection, the pain. We're afraid of pain. So we react to this fear with people-pleasing, dishonesty, especially hiding our desires, and oddly enough, with social withdrawal and isolation. One of the strangest things that we do to avoid rejection is avoiding people. We won't ask someone out so they can't say no, and either way we end up with the same result. They are not in our lives. One of the oddest things about our fear of rejection is that we guarantee it. We make sure that we can't have someone in our life and we can't connect with them. And we say that we're protecting ourselves from being rejected by that person when actually we've just rejected ourselves on their behalf. So I want you to notice how this fear comes up for you and how you react to it in such a way that you end up being rejected by yourself.